Just the way you move, it's a real deal. And the way you groove, oh, it's the way I feel, yeah, yeah. You're a wild thing and you're a natural star. Got me crazy about the way you are. So I want you, baby, you're the real deal.
This is George Galloway, and this, not that, is the real deal.
Welcome to a special edition of The Real Deal with me, George Galloway. I'm here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday night between 6 and 7 o'clock. Tonight we're going to show you a film you've never had the opportunity to see before. Narrated by the Oscar-winning actress Julie Christie, it tells the story of how I and my friends in the late summer of 1999 took a red London Routemaster bus all the way from Big Ben to Baghdad. It was a 1964 bus, and yet it arrived on time, though with many difficulties and mishaps in between. The purpose of the trip was to draw attention to the widespread suffering of the Iraqi civilian population under United Nations sanctions, rigorously policed by the British and American governments. These sanctions took the lives of more than 1 million Iraqis, most of them children, most of them too young even to know that they were Iraqis, but who died for no other reason than that they had the misfortune to be born Iraqi children in those dark and dreadful days. We'll be taking you across 11 countries, 3 continents, 15,000 kilometers, culminating in a group of Britishers playing Beatles music from a red London bus being received by 3 million people. The biggest and warmest welcome ever afforded to any British people anywhere at any time. You've never had the chance to see this film before, but you'll be glad you saw it tonight. Here is Big Ben to Baghdad.
The United States have
now sanctions of all trade with Iraq.
Big targets in Iraq.
All this has been achieved.
We have been able to maintain the toughest sanctions.
It's coming up for 10 years since the end of the Gulf War. 10 years of sanctions against Iraq, led by the governments of the United States and Britain. According to official estimates, 1 million Iraqi children have died because of sanctions, because of infected water, food shortages, lack of basic medicines. One young Iraqi girl has come to symbolize the effect of sanctions on the children of Iraq. Maryam Hamza. Found in a Baghdad hospital by British MP George Galloway, Maryam's leukemia couldn't be treated due to shortages imposed by the sanctions. Galloway arranged for her to receive treatment at the Royal Hospital for Sick Children in Glasgow, and the Maryam appeal has become the focus in Britain for opposition to the government's policy on sanctions.
I was talking with the royal family, the sons of Sheikh Zayed, the ruler of Abu Dhabi and the president of the United Arab Emirates, and talking about the need for a cancer convoy which would cross Europe and the Middle East, drawing attention to the epidemic of cancers and general misery on the ground in Iraq, almost 10 years into an embargo which has killed more than 1 million Iraqi children. When I went to bed that night, believe me, I dreamt that the convoy would be led by a red London bus.
Galloway gathered together a group of colleagues and volunteers and started planning. There was Stuart Halford in charge of logistics, James McGowan, chief cook, Brett Bissell, one of the drivers and assistant mechanic, John Craig in charge of flags and publicity, and Neil Salmons, the Arabic translator, and others would join them later. As the team gathered to look over their mobile home for the next 2 months, there were mixed feelings.
I'm slightly worried about the mechanical side of things because it is an old route master. Of course, they used to go around the fairly flat streets of London, and you're never far away from a garage.
Brett has been joined by Alex Dunlop as co-driver.
Much though I'm sure Brett's a wonderful man, he has just done a 3-week course, and I think it might need a little more attention than somebody can provide who's done a 3-week course.
After months of planning and preparation, today is the big day. Just time for a rally of supporters come to wish the bus bon voyage.
Iraqi men and women are exactly like you and me, with the same needs, with the same dreams, and with the same children. And when we cut their children, they bleed just like our children bleed. And they've been bleeding long enough. 10 years is long enough. We love the people of Iraq. No more war, no more sanctions. Let the Iraqi people live.
All aboard for Baghdad! Bye! All aboard for Baghdad!
Now the question is, how do you get from London to Baghdad? It's a daunting prospect. The route winds down through France and Spain, across to Morocco, and then the length of North Africa, through Egypt, across into Jordan, and then over the Iraqi border and on to Baghdad. But even on the short journey to Dover, it is clear that all is not well with the aging bus.
First and second gear have gone, and the gears. There's no first and second gear, so we're working in third gear at the moment.
But there's no going back now. It's goodbye to England, and off across the Channel to France. Flags flying, the bus sets off for Paris, where it is due to be the star attraction at the Fête d'Humanité. But a flat battery leaves the bus stranded for several hours, and as it limps on in darkness, the team are getting tired and hungry. Finally, they have to abandon the bus and go in search of food. It's been a long and frustrating day.
20 minutes to 1, and we haven't even got the bus on site. But we're hungry. We need...
By the next morning, the bus has finally joined the festival. But it's time for some serious talking.
The Arab world and the Arab media has already gone absolutely wild about this project. It is daily on every Arab television station. So this particular bus, this specific bus, is the one that we're stuck with. We can't trade it in, we can't buy another one, we can't do anything. Even if we had millions, we couldn't. It has to be this one. But I myself have no confidence that this bus can reach Baghdad on our current route. I think a bus which has broken down as many times as this one between London and Paris.
Despite the ominous problems with the bus, there's a festival going on and a message to get across.
France knows the crime being committed by the British and American governments. It is a crime to punish innocent people because of a political dispute with the government of that country. I tell you, this is one of the crimes of the 20th century.
I tell you, this is transformed, isn't it? This is absolutely brilliant in here. Oh, look at this table.
Fantastic.
Feet up, laptop, bookshelf. And have a look at the mug rack over here.
It's like home.
It's time to leave the comforts of Paris for the trek south towards Spain. But there's a feeling that things are going to have to improve dramatically if the bus is going to make it all the way. It's the first time the team's survival skills under canvas have been put to the test. 2 out of 10 seems a fair mark.
Black tea? Did you enter here?
Any tea will do.
Yeah. Good morning. We'll look after the driver. She's on the road. Get that away. She's no dressed.
We're in Spain. We're in Spain without a problem. Well done.
Everyone's becoming aware of the size of the challenge, especially for the old bus. And sure enough, on the first of the big Spanish mountains,
Well, we've got quite a major problem with the engine at the moment. The fact that water's leaking out all through the water pump. We're not going to get to anywhere where we can fix it for a couple of days, I don't think.
and while Peter the engineer tries to trace the source of the problem, John Craig has discovered his version of the global village.
I don't believe it. Here we are in the middle of Spain, miles away, and what have we got? Glasgow Rangers on the telly. Oh, you dancer.
It's a bit large.
Peter tries all the tricks of the trade to fix the problem.
Quite the right size, but...
But it's becoming crystal clear that if the bus is going to make it to Baghdad, an engineer will have to be found to take over from Peter when he has to leave in the next day or two. Peter's worked all night on the bus, but the leak refuses to stop. But the good news is that a mechanic has been found to join the expedition in Morocco.
He's going to be with us in about 10 minutes' time.
But will the bus keep going for 10 more days? Not if the Spanish mountains have anything to do with it.
Give an oil change in it.
Will it do any good?
It's been a struggle, but the bus has made it to the next engagement. Another festival, this time in Madrid. And the strains of life on the road are starting to tell.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, in the long term, you know, the trip might be delayed or might be there early. I'm just thinking, in the next 2 months, I don't know if I could. If I'm thinking like it's going to be like this, staying on the bus every night. I don't think I'm going to do it, mate. I don't think I could do the whole journey.
Different. Everyone, at the end of the day, sleeping is quite a personal thing, isn't it? And so I don't really mind sleeping here or sleeping here. But as long as I sleep all right. But like if you only get 3 or 4 hours sleep a night and you have to get up for meetings which you don't even have to go to.
Your sleep was your own choosing. You just went out.
Well, that's not quite right.
Well, it's just went out.
When I went out last night, there was nothing happening today.
Yeah. No.
Time to call in some local reinforcements. Let's see if a couple of days in the hands of a Madrid garage can finally fix the problem.
This is day 2 of repairs, yeah, 1 more day of repairs, and it's looking okay, but we're definitely here all day tomorrow anyway, because we've now got a rally to do in Madrid at the Plaza del Sol, or something like that, on Thursday midday, and we've got about 24 Iraqi children coming along to the rally, which will be really good. All of whom have been treated here for various diseases and cancers and everything, so that'll be really good.
Life in the square goes on. James cooks, and the rest of the crew get on with eating al fresco. And Brett is 23 today.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Fantastic, isn't it? It's brilliant. Go to the back.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely outstanding.
It's never run properly before, I don't think. This is really good. I'm amazed.
Finally, the bus is ready to join the others in the Plaza del Sol.
Is this the kids from the school?
This people from
The Iraqi school?
Okay.
Good. Oh, they've got some senoritas. Hello. 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 How are you?
No, please.
Sensibilizar a la opinión pública la situación del pueblo iraquí. Hay un embargo. Hace falta ayudar a levantar el embargo. Nosotros esperamos que podemos hacer algo para que se levante el embargo de las Naciones Unidas.
I hate public speaking. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And then when you have to do it in another language.
On the road again, and it's clear the Madrid mechanics haven't solved the problem.
4 heroes managed to get the bus to Granada last night, defeating all the odds. They managed to get it here. But the bus won't go any further, so we now have to tow it from Granada to Algeciras, which is about 260 kilometres. Time is of the essence. We've got to meet the Prime Minister of Morocco day after tomorrow. We've got a big reception waiting for us in Morocco tomorrow. So we have to get to Algeciras today, catch the boat first thing tomorrow morning. Peter, who's been the mechanic as well, he's got to go. His passport's now run out. He can't come to Morocco with us, so we have to say goodbye to him when we get to Algeciras. We're going to miss him a lot.
And so, on the back of a Spanish tow truck, the bus is heading for Algeciras to make the ferry to North Africa at a scorching 52 miles per hour. It's the team's last night in Europe. Tonight it's...
Night, Diego.
Might fix it.
Good night, Peter.
Good night, all.
Tomorrow it'll be Salam Alaikum. Believe it or not, it's now day 22 of the trip, and the team are looking forward to the change of continent.
Yeah, apparently we've got people of the political leaders and political parties and women's trade unions and all this kind of stuff, and heaps and heaps of journalists apparently. So been quite a big change from Europe.
The journey through Europe has been hard going. Not only the mechanical problems, but the welcome in France and Spain had been polite rather than enthusiastic. The team are curious to see what the reception will be in Morocco later today.
Hello! You will come to Morocco! You will come!
Sure enough, the Baghdad bus is big news in North Africa.
It is very appropriate that this symbol of Britain and London should arrive for its first steps on Arab soil here in Morocco, because there is no part of the Arab nation which has stood more strongly with the suffering people of Iraq than the people of Morocco.
But on the road towards the capital, Rabat, the bus has ground to a halt, yet again.
So we've driven 50 miles to a place called La Arish, which is the start of the motorway, and we've had to pull in because there's water going into the oil again. Volunteers are getting a bit stressed as of late. I think John was on his way to losing it tonight. They are thinking that we're never going to make it in this bus, we're always going to have these problems. We'll see.
Oh, what a beautiful morning.
Another day, another tow truck, but now the pressure is really on.
We've got a proper meeting with the Prime Minister in 5.5 hours in Rabat.
Trouble is, the tow truck isn't up to the job. The bus will just have to wait for a bigger truck, while a delegation sets off for Rabat.
The Prime Minister's not going to sit and tap his thumb for 4 or 5 hours.
Right, everyone got a T-shirt?
James and Brett are left to organise a proper tow. It'll be a long night for them.
I've been having fits. They removed everything and put everything on, and they were doing lots of stuff I didn't know about. I was trying to keep control of it, but you know what they're like, they do their own thing anyway. But it's here, it's safe, and we'll assess the damage afterwards.
The damage looks worse than it is. At least the bus is safely in Rabat, and everyone else is busy doing the rounds of meetings and press interviews.
This indicates that there are extensive numbers of people supporting our policy for the ending of the embargo.
Here in Morocco, everyone is beginning to understand how important this project is in the Arab world.
Can we get some more newspapers?
I think it was the first time we actually heard the call to prayer. And it's heaven. I mean, I think there's very little better than that. I mean, you know that you're there and you're doing it for a good cause, and that the people of Morocco are with you as well. It was quite beautiful.
With a lot of help from our Moroccan friends, the bus is at last starting to purr along, and the team are happy to wallow in the warm welcome of the people of Casablanca. But there's a sad note too. John is leaving to go home. He only meant to come as far as Madrid, and he doesn't have a visa beyond Morocco.
It's really odd because we're always toing and froing, and then suddenly it's going to think, well, he's not going to be there tonight. He's not going to get your name wrong, or Brett's name wrong, or Bart's name wrong, or Amouar's name wrong. There'll be no papers distributed, no T-shirts worn. It'll be shambles.
Take care, John.
He'll be missed, but John has promised to rejoin the bus later. Next stop, the city of Fez. More banners, more meetings, and bigger rallies. And there's an all-important new member of the team, John. a specialist mechanic who's casting his expert eye over the bus. Now Chris and Betsy.
Start on 6 cylinders at the moment.
Taking back roads to avoid a low bridge, in the middle of nowhere, the convoy is ambushed in the nicest possible way.
We met in the middle of nowhere by the school full of Iraqi children. From their classes, no doubt, to meet us. It's fantastic, it really is fantastic.
And John, the mechanic's verdict on Betsy?
Yeah, I think Betsy's going to make the trip quite successfully.
Everyone's starting to think the bus might actually make it to Baghdad. And George Galloway has added a new element to his speech, looking ahead to what may happen at the Iraqi border.
We give the United Nations this notice from this great meeting in Qassim. If you intend to come onto our bus at the Jordan-Iraq border, you'd better bring the United States Marines with you, because we won't be allowing you onto our bus.
How do you feel about stopping American Marines getting onto the bus in Iraq?
Stopping them?
Yeah.
You think they might do that? No. I could always play some country music at them, and then they'd probably...
Start dancing?
There's just one town left in Morocco before the Algerian border. And once again, everyone is overwhelmed by the enthusiasm of the people here. They obviously care passionately about what's happening to the Iraqi people.
Look at all the people who've waited just to see a bus. Really? Yeah.
You should see all the people
There's
in the
1,000
towns.
people at
It's just incredible.
Today, everyone is just a little nervous. The convoy is about to cross into Algeria. The border has been closed for the last 6 years. But today, and for an old red London bus, is going to be opened.
Perhaps we go with you in Algeria. Perhaps.
All of you, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all my comrades, we are saying not au revoir, but à bientôt.
In fact, the border has been closed for so long, the guards found the frontier barrier had rusted shut. But they forced it open, and the bus inched its way through no man's land.
We're in Algeria. We are now in Algeria.
Stuart, how long will you be here?
I have no idea. Probably at least half an hour.
With police sirens wailing, the bus is heading for Oran. Algiers is only just emerging from a brutal civil war. But for now, the biggest threat to the convoy is meeting fatigue.
Well, I thought we were checking into the hotel, but it's yet another meeting.
And the rest of the team are also starting to show signs of weariness, and in some cases, illness.
They'll live. They're going for the old local drinking water lurgy again, I suspect. And I think we're all going to go through it.
He showed me the official programme, which does indeed have us departing tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. But it was all predicated upon us reaching Algiers in one day from here. It's not the sort of country that you can just stop in. You can't say, right,
Stop halfway in
we're going to stop halfway in any town. We have to stay in secure accommodation.
Early the next morning, in a downpour, the bus is on the road again. It's supposed to reach Algiers today, but even at its top speed, that's going to be tough.
Jamie, this lunch thing, can I not go to it? Because I'm really not up to it. If I'm going to have to drive this afternoon.
شوية
400 newspapers, 2 seconds.
As I suspected, this was the area where the biggest massacres took place during the Civil War. But I suppose he thought he was being comforting when he said that for at least 4 months they had not had any armed conflict here. Brett, if you could just pass the word back. The police are very anxious to get moving. So I really would appreciate it if everyone could get on board and be ready to move in the next moment or so.
Back on the road, the police are anxious to be on the move, but Algiers is still a long way off. And of course, the bus didn't make it. The police say it's far too dangerous to continue in the dark, so while the rest of the team dismount wearily, George is whisked on alone to Algiers under heavy police escort. Following day, the rest of the convoy catches up with George Galloway in Algiers.
As we're in a theatre, let me start with a cinematic comparison. For those old enough to remember the epic movie Spartacus, you will recall that after the defeat of the brave slaves' revolt led by Spartacus, only a few hundred of them remained alive as captives. So they asked the few hundred captives, which one is Spartacus? And one after the other of his comrades stood up and said, I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus. And it is in that spirit that this great meeting this evening declares, we are Iraqis, we are Iraqis, we are Iraqis.
Next morning, the bus has an unexpected visitor. The Iraqi ambassador to Algeria turns up on a tour of inspection.
A small apartment. It's a very small apartment, but it's home.
Up like this?
No, upstairs is...
But Stuart is becoming a bit disillusioned with the troops.
Lazy, good-for-nothings. They take bloody 2 hours to do what you can do in 10 minutes. Which puts us right an hour behind schedule, which means we've got the night tonight not in Seft as we'd hoped, but in the place 100 k's before that. We then means we spend tomorrow night in Constantine, and the night after that we've got one hell of a long drive to get to the border, along mountainous roads.
So it's onwards and upwards, and the convoy is now entering the most dangerous part of the country.
It's all happening. They wanted to get us out of here as quickly as possible, because it's it's a pretty dangerous area, which is why they want us to get to the next place in daylight.
The heavily armed police escort is getting edgier all the time as the bus heads into the area that saw the worst of the massacres during the Civil War.
Cambia todo, cambia todo, cambia.
The heat and the long grind up into the hills are taking their toll. The bus has to stop for a rest, but the police are now very agitated. It turns out the bus couldn't have broken down in a worse spot.
Oh, what a place to break down. We've broken down in a Sniper Alley. And it's not as if we're it's not as if we're inconspicuous or anything like that, but I don't know what's the best thing to say. Everyone stay on the bus or everyone stay away from the bus. We seem to have acquired some reinforcements.
Have we?
Yeah, from the local town.
I wonder what sort of action they would take with us anyway. So I just wonder if I could talk my way out of being shot. Well, let's hope we can struggle on to Tunis, where we'll take the heads off and try again, and that'll be the end of it, I hope, fingers crossed. A good head gasket job.
Finally, as night falls, the convoy crawls into a secure compound in the town of Bourges for some rest and, well, a haircut.
Again, just saying, Nasima has to do exactly the same haircut with everyone.
The bus and the jeep just drove through this town, and out in the town there was 300-400 people that had been waiting for 4 or 5 hours. We didn't even have time to stop.
I can't believe how far we've driven. I can't believe how massive this is. And I can't believe that I've gone all this distance from England all the way down here without really looking at a map. Because we arrived in Iran, we left Wijda on Monday morning, a week ago. Down, it's just miles. It's just absolutely huge. And then we're going to end up a week later there, crossing in just an entire country. Thinking of you, nobody else. Give me a thrill with all your faults. I love you still. It hits
6:37 today.
We don't need our bag, just passports at the moment so we can check in, yeah? That's for you.
No.
Okay.
It's love for everyone.
Love for everyone, love for the world.
Yeah.
Welcome to Tunis.
For John, it's the highlight of the trip, up to his armpits in oil doing his head gasket job at last. And his apprentice seems confident all is going to be well with the bus.
Everybody's happy and the bus is fine. Everybody's happy and the bus will be fine, but not till about 6 o'clock tomorrow evening.
The town of Sfax may be small, but there's a big turnout at the evening meeting.
And this is Biro, Bedam, Nedi, with the spirit, with blood, we think of Iraq. Maybe we support Iraq.
This has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
هذه هي من إحدى أعظم تجاربي في حياتي.
I wish we could take this meeting on a magic carpet all the way to Baghdad.
I don't think he wants to be seen in public with a baseball cap on.
Yeah, sure. Just said, who are we? Are you a delegation?
Who are we?
Oh, that's more like it.
This is more like it.
Another day, another border, number 7 out of 11. This is Libya, which is itself only just emerging from years of isolation and sanctions. Which may be why Alex finds it a confusing sort of place.
Do you think we're supposed to know what's going on? I think we're waiting. We were waiting for John. John was taken somewhere that he wasn't supposed to go and then brought back after having had tea. We were taken into breakfast and told to get ready, which we shouldn't have been, and now we're waiting here. We've been waiting for 2 hours from 9 till 11 on a fantastically sunny day in Tripoli, but we're not allowed to go anywhere or do anything because we're waiting for somebody to take us to the mountains somewhere. And I'm sure they don't really want to take us.
Libya seems to be taking days to cross, but a long-running game of risk helps to pass the time.
Yeah. Have I not got time to invade Scandinavia?
You got British, Australian, German, Polish, all side by side. You got 2 soldiers buried in one. Unknown still to this day.
2,000 graves here at Tobruk from World War II. But compare that with 6,000 Iraqi children dead each month, ignored by the outside world. It turns out, even during the years of Libya's isolation, local workers have kept the war cemeteries immaculate. Locals hereabout warn of an unusual road hazard in these parts.
Apparently there's hundreds of camels and they just wander across the road. If we hit one, it's going to kill us. Here we were, just walking through the desert one day, and what do we see? Hundreds and hundreds of camels. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's like they're going home for tea.
ورق هذه مزوحة يا غالي عجيب
We're in Egypt now. We're in Egypt. Let's look at our passports.
The convoy is now just inside the border with Egypt, and there's a problem. Only no one seems to know what the problem is, and Alex is getting confused.
Everybody's already started going pss, pss, pss at me, and no one's explaining whether pss means left, right, forwards, backwards, stop or go. And it's very difficult to drive when someone's going pss, pss. 1 minute it means left and pss, pss. Next minute it means stop and pss, pss. Next minute it means if you wait here for 5 minutes we're going to go just down the road. And once we've gone down the road, if you take a right, it will be all right. People don't explain these things.
It turns out the bus just needed a local number plate. It's a sultry evening, and it's Cairo, and the welcome return of a prodigal son. And out on the streets of Cairo, it's chaos. Everyone wants a copy of the newspaper. Everyone wants to greet the famous London to Baghdad bus.
Hi, Mr. George. Egypt, Baghdad. Egypt to Baghdad, I love you.
Just sensational, this, Jimmy. People running from everywhere. Every time the bus stops, they're running towards us. And there are people weaving in and out of the traffic and stuff. Able to cheer up 22 million Iraqis who watched it daily by satellite on their television sets, that out there were millions, tens of millions of people who felt every blow that they sustained and who cried for the death of their children when they must often have thought that no one anywhere was noticing at all. If we stayed here one more week, we'd make a revolution. The longer this journey goes on, the better. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Always brilliant.
Is this a good idea or not?
How are we going to put this into words, George? Yeah, how are we going to put this into words?
Absolutely unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
Allahu Akbar!
It's amazing. That situation is like absolutely outstanding.
That was absolutely insane.
You think the front was punches, it's in the back. It was out the road going out the bus windows. Stuart's running everywhere. Jamie was there.
So cool.
Oh, it was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. with the buses. Back with the buses, okay? Question. Okay. You know what exactly what happened now? No. This guy, the policeman, was really pissed off because the signs, direct signs we had on the bus, and he said that we love people of Iraq. It's like an, it's like an ad, it's like an ad, and this is not allowed in the pyramids area without a permission. Jamie got us in trouble again.
So,
hello.
Expressions of love are now considered advertising.
You have to stop with everyone else and no more filming.
The team would have been happy to stay in Cairo for longer, but the bus is back on the road, heading for Jordan.
What?
There's no room on today's ferry, so the truck full of medicines is going on ahead, closely followed by George Galloway.
Yeah, we'll wait for you in Aqaba. Has a certain ring to it. Lawrence of Arabia might once have said so.
The rest of the team will just have to amuse themselves until tomorrow. On the road to Amman in Jordan, the bus is having a hard time grinding up a hill behind some heavy trucks. Suddenly the truck in front stalls and Betsy's engine decides to overheat in sympathy. It's a dangerous situation.
I don't think it matters whether we notify the traffic or not, because they seem to have no rules for the road anyway.
The truck in front is starting to roll back, and the decision is taken to abandon the bus. Some of the team take to the hills, but that has its dangers too.
Tangled up in blue.
There's no time for busking. There's a very important person waiting in a clinic in Amman.
We are going to see Mariam at the hospital. Should be a large contingent of press. Quite, I don't know, quite emotional because I'm down to see Mariam. Haven't seen her for a year and a half. I just wonder if she remembers me.
Okay, baby. Sorry to bring all these cameras back again. You are very famous now. You know who is coming? There's John. John met you at the airport in Glasgow. Remember John? We are so happy to see you. You went to the park with John, yes?
You seen the papers? Yes.
All your friends from Glasgow are thinking of you. All of them waiting for you.
Unbelievable. First I've seen her about a year and a half. And it's just
Amazing.
How did she
So full of life. Just the same as the last time I seen her, and it's just. I don't know what to say. I'm just glad that she's alive, and hopefully she'll get there.
I won't pretend that this is anything other than a gloomy day for us. She's still in remission from the leukemia, but she is suffering virtually every single complication that it's possible to suffer. And this is a very sad and gloomy prognosis for us.
Now it really is the final push. Delegations from all the countries the bus has visited have gathered for the crossing into Iraq tomorrow. There's no turning back now. And the last night before the crossing, everyone enjoys some lavish Bedouin hospitality.
We have dreamed of such a night, such an Arabian night as this for a long time. Tunis.
I'm just trying to figure out, is that brain? I thought so.
Getting on fine. I'm glad I'm not vegetarian anymore.
Sheikh Abu Hatem, you're a very great man. You are a great man.
While the rest of the team try to get some sleep, John is still entertaining some slightly bemused locals.
From Bantry Bay up to Derry, I'm from Galway to Dublin town. No maid I've seen like the sweet Colleen that I met in the county down.
It's day 67 today. Mixed feelings amongst the team. Exhilaration that, inshallah, the convoy will reach Baghdad this evening. But the great adventure is almost over.
Well, it's very exciting. We're here on the Jordanian border. Soon we'll be in no man's land and we'll be exchanging the flag of Jordan for the flag of Iraq, meaning the very last stage of our epic journey. And when we set out from London, Baghdad seemed a very long way away. Soon we'll be there, God willing, inshallah, as they say in these parts.
Everybody talking about ministers, ministers,
reception on that.
Iraq has millions of friends all over the world, and we are bringing their messages of solidarity from all the countries.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver sound of love.
It's unbelievable.
We bring the solidarity of millions of people.
ولكننا نجلب معنا تضامن ملايين الناس.
Especially, خصوصا, from Marrakesh to Baghdad.
من مراكش وحتى بغداد.
Where all the people speak the same language.
حيث يتكلم كافة الناس بنفس اللغة.
And where they all sang the same song.
No British people have ever been received in the Middle East in the way that we were received on the streets of Baghdad. 3 million people came out onto the streets. It was truly unforgettable.
Warmth and the love and the respect they had for us, for doing this thing. You know, why are you worrying about it? It's not your country. But I was ashamed to say that it isn't my country that was doing it.
Ordinary people would come up to us in the street and tell us that they had been telling of our adventure as bedtime stories for their children.
To me, meeting the heads of state or prime ministers was fine, but the most enjoyment I got was actually meeting the normal, everyday folk, and people were treating you like heroes.
Just being able to sit on the bonnet with, you know, John Lennon blaring into your ears and people shouting up and waving. And then I think that was one of the few times I've really, really felt, you know, the meaning of solidarity, when you could look into people's eyes and you knew that just for maybe 5 minutes of a day that they felt a little bit better, or you brought a smile into someone's life as they saw, you know, these mad 10 British people or this 37-year-old route master. It was good. It was very, very nice in Baghdad.
To see them all with these smiling faces and these wee bright eyes looking up at you, if you're the saviour and you're going to wave a magic wand. I wish I did have a magic wand and I could do it.
There were only a couple of times on the trip that made me cry, and actually driving through the crowds was almost humiliating in a way, because you didn't feel worthy of all this adulation that was being given.
An Iraqi child has died every 6 minutes of every day. That's quite a mountain of dead children.
Half of these kids that have died and will die every day weren't even born when this thing started.
We walked in and there was this woman, Ghaida, who had lost, I think, 9 of her children in the bombing of it. I think somewhere between 400 or 1,400 people were killed. You just feel so pathetic.
As long as everyone that went on the trip
and everyone that saw the bus pass by, as long as they don't think, well, that's it, that's the end of the whole campaign now, because it's not, and it won't be until these sanctions are lifted.
I'm not the same person I was.
Oh, just the way you move, it's a real deal. And the way you groove, oh, it's the way I feel, yeah, yeah. You're a wild thing and you're a natural star. Got me crazy about the way you walk. So I want you, baby, you're the real.